Hello and welcome to Social Media Weekly, episode 30th June 2021. Social Media Weekly is brought to you by Virtual Palace Marketing, rehumanizing your marketing experience. My name is Sean. This week we have a new co-host with us, Jay. Hi Jay, how are you doing?
Hello Sean, glad to be here and thank you for having me here as well. This is going to be interesting. I always love what you do, especially when you talk about things related with media. And I think a lot of people do not get the chance to, or are privileged in a sense to get to know all of this kind of stuff. So yeah, glad to be here.
No problem at all. Jay is testing his position here as a co-host for Social Media Weekly. So we hope that Jay can stay here for the long term so that I don't have to talk to myself all the time. So dear listeners, if Jay is fumbling a little bit today, cutting some slack. It's his first time and it's not easy doing this show, okay? All right, so let's start with the stories. YouTube released guidelines to build audience. Product manager for recommendations at YouTube, Rachel Alves, posted a video outlining some tips on building an audience with YouTube. These aren't new tips by any means, but it's a good refresher in case you've forgotten your ways. Let's say if you have been doing YouTube for a while now and you kind of lost the grounds that you have, or if you're new to this, then these 5 tips will be good for you. The first one is to build your channel around an audience. Makes sense, right? But it is important. So before we start, we should sit down and figure out who will be watching our channel, what they're interested in, and how those interests are likely to change over the course of 6 months, a year, and more if you're in this for the long term. Alves says that the short-term trends can get people through the door, but won't keep them in your channel over time. Aligning the key interests and offering values that your audience are interested in will attract new audiences and keep the old ones coming back. So that is the basics, right? To a good channel, to be able to know what your audience is and where they're at. Number 2 is to find your niche. Also very important stuff. Yeah. To be honest, it is actually harder than we think. Finding the right niche that is narrow enough to avoid big competitors, but wide enough to still have an audience is very tricky. Alves provides an example of a cooking channel. One can either go wide and cook anything under the sun or focus on certain cuisines. One can also focus on certain key ingredients or go towards the niche of cooking budget-conscious food under $10. I think that's a good idea, right? Budget-conscious food under $10.
Yeah.
Especially during this COVID times and everybody's cooking at home and everything, and you want to be on budget because sometimes you get laid off or you're working at 50% capacity and you really want to look at you're very budget conscious.
Yep.
So the key
in a sense as well, to be I like the approach in the sense where you see, it's budget conscious. So you get to save up more of the money as well. During these kind of times, you need that extra backup cash. Anything may happen at this point of time. Especially during the COVID times, in my perspective, I would say that, for an example, the PCR testing is not cheap. To get to have funds to actually to go for PCR testing is another issue as well. So I guess having this kind of content to have your niche, that's actually really good though.
Yep. So back to the topic, to have a niche is very important. The key here is not to go too deep into your niche, then nobody will be interested in it. Say, for example, Italian, let's say pizza with pineapples and chicken that is under $10. So that is so niche that you probably only have one episode.
One kind. Exactly.
And those who don't like pineapples on pizzas won't like it. Those who don't like chilies on chicken on pizza won't like it, and those who don't like pizzas won't like it as well. So that is too niche, but it can't be too wide as to being able to reach everybody, and therefore having no specialty and reaching nobody. So take some time to find a sweet spot on your niche. The third is to watch a lot of videos. This is very important because, as Alves says, and we totally agree, that knowing your market and competitors is the best way to stay aware of what's going on around you. What better way than to watch a lot of content that is similar to yours as possible? Find out how they structure their videos, what leads to greater engagement, and more. So it's one thing to actually watch videos for your own entertainment, but when you are looking to build your own content and you're watching other people's content, you have this awareness of how they build certain contents, and you tend to ask questions that will lead you to creating better content. That is important as well.
Yep, very true. I agree with you on this.
The fourth one is to create and establish your brand. Having a strong and consistent branding will help your channel stand out among others, especially in the discovery screen. Think about fonts, colors, icons, and things that best represent your channel and what you do. Even look at description, channel trailers to draw curiosity and attention as well. Sometimes when you're on the discovery screen, right, there's so many nice headers out there, cover photos and everything out there, to a point where sometimes when you're able to establish a font and color and icon that is consistent, what happens is when someone sees that image, they immediately know it's from you. They don't have to go to this small little part that says buy this channel. So that helps with very strong branding. The fifth one is to be consistent. The last tip by Alves, and probably also the most important, is to always show up with new content. The best way to get repeated viewership and not be forgotten is to keep creating new content regularly. This part connects with points 1 and 2, where you would need to plan out topics and discussions that can last a long time. Channels also need to evolve over time according to market and audience requirements. Maturing and growing up as a channel is part and parcel of what makes a journey great for both creators and their audience. Imagine if your content never evolved for the past 6-7 years, and people grow up and
just imagine they all having the old smartphone and they are trying to use that to record, and just it's consistently just that. There's no improvement of video qualities or anything. That's quite sad too.
Yeah. Everybody's doing 4K now, and you're still doing like 480 by 240 or something like that. All right, onward to the next topic. Facebook expands stories real estate. The Instagram stories real estate is an incredibly valuable one, but the same can't be said about Facebook stories, which are still not quite there yet. In order to boost the value of this section, Facebook has been seen testing the ability to include display options that it will include Instagram Reels and in-progress video and audio rooms. Okay, so let's dissect this thing. Instagram has stories, Facebook has stories. Instagram stories is doing good, but Facebook stories isn't doing really that well. So what Facebook is doing is they are reutilizing the real estate they have for the stories to add more type of content in. What Facebook is planning to do is they are putting in Instagram Reels into the Facebook stories section, which will most probably be, let's say, your friends who are on Instagram and Facebook, because now they're connecting Instagram and Facebook friends list already, right? So your friends who are on Instagram and also Facebook, they show you some reels from them. Second thing is it's called in-progress video and audio rooms. So video rooms are essentially video chats, public and private. And audio rooms are essentially Facebook's version of Clubhouse. And in progress here means that whatever that is happening in the moment right now, kind of like live videos of something or live audios of what's going on. So that's going to be pushed into the Facebook stories section as well. This is actually a good way to increase the visibility of Instagram Reels and Rooms content in order to better compete with TikTok and Clubhouse, because Facebook has a lot more platforms compared to TikTok, which has only one platform, and Clubhouse, which has only one platform. So Facebook has the ability to cross-post everything around and help gain some discoverability. So if businesses are contemplating Reels and Rooms as possible branding avenues, you will be treated with bonus discoverability, reach, and engagement by riding on Facebook's goals. I think, if you're a brand who's in this and you're contemplating, I guess Instagram Reels is one thing that most people are considering. I mean, we are considering Instagram Reels and TikTok. And Clubhouse, maybe, if you're going into Clubhouse, it's called Facebook Audio Rooms, then you will be treated with a lot of bonus discoverability as well.
I mean, it's interesting in a sense where when they talk about the in-progress videos and also audio rooms, how are they gonna? I'm actually really looking forward. Like when, for instance, I use Instagram stories very often. So when you click on one post, you get to see another. But when they mention about Instagram Reels and also in progress videos. So that means what am I expecting is I would probably see some content from Instagram on Facebook, and as well like I can hear like in progress videos. That's actually a really different approach. Like it's something unique. I am really looking forward to see what Facebook is going to be doing more though.
Yeah, I'm probably just going to expect them to be mashing everything in together, and kind of like how, how sometimes in stories you get when someone goes live, you get to see their bubble as going
Yep.
live. And yeah, that's going to be extended to rooms, audio and video rooms. And then maybe in between stories, you get to see reels as well. So when you click on it, you go into the reel section, then you can swipe up and down to see more reels. So it takes you to a different world altogether.
Yeah, very unique approach, I would say.
Yep. And also having just brought ads to reels last week. So now all reels already have advertisement across the world. Instagram is pushing for monetization for their creators in order to attract new and keep existing ones. So Instagram believes that one way to get more creators to come in is by allowing them to monetize. When they can monetize and make money from their content, they will stay and they will make better content, and they will also attract new ones as well. And then the better the content that is on Instagram Reels, it attracts people to want to consume Instagram Reels, and it goes on a cycle. So that's what they're building towards.
Yeah.
Instagram considering allowing posts from desktop after Alessandro Paluzzi spotted Instagram testing the ability to post from desktop. Instagram confirmed to TechCrunch that, quote, "We know many people access Instagram from their computer, and we are now testing the ability to create a feed post on Instagram with their desktop browser. It appears that the company has saw an increase in people using their desktops to browse Instagram rather than their mobile devices. This has happened particularly during the COVID times, which prompted them to build such a function. A data scientist from Instagram also said that users who use both interfaces to actually spend more time on each interface compared to those who use each interface exclusively." I don't know where that data comes from, but if it makes sense to them, then why not? So it is important to Instagram because they don't have to worry about attention cannibalization between desktop and the app. But let's say, for example, if you go through Instagram and you log into Instagram to look at all the accounts and everything, so that's going to count as attention to your account anyway, right? It doesn't matter where you see it from, as long as it's using your account, it should count as your attention span. So I'm not sure that matters as something. In any case, this ability will greatly help creators who create and post content outside of Facebook's Creator Studio. Typing on a full keyboard will significantly reduce typo errors.
Yep. I mean, like
for all of us.
Autocorrects,
Yeah, like duck you.
Yeah, exactly. But actually, I really like this as well, because essentially, like you see, for an example, okay, let's just say I'm a photographer and I have an Instagram page. Probably the camera on my phone can't take a good enough picture compared to my DSLR. And you see, for instance, the process of me transferring the pictures from my camera to the PC, to my phone. And nevertheless, you do remember we have to edit the pictures as well. So on the PC, I mean, like essentially getting the chance to actually post it on the desktop will be way much more easier and way much more faster, I would say, comparative to on your phone itself. And when we talk about fast and quality as well.
Yeah, it does make sense because let's say if you produce high quality videos and high quality photos, right? The traditional process would be from your camera to your desktop where the production happens, and then you move to your phone to upload into Instagram. So now that you can do it directly from your desktop, what you do is from your camera to your phone for post-processing, and then directly into Instagram without needing to go to your phone. So it cuts down one very important place. If you are on an Apple ecosystem and you can airdrop everything, it's fine. But if you're using cross-system between Android and Windows and Apple devices, and also cameras that are not neither of those devices, then it's more difficult because you need to use cables. And nowadays, laptops mostly come with less and less ports. So
Yeah, very true.
that's a bit of a struggle.
Very true. Okay,
Brilliant.
with that, Twitter can now share to your IG stories. So that's interesting. Okay, so the day of sharing Twitter screenshots is over because now you can directly share them to your IG stories with a link back. So, all right, let me just finish this. This is the part of Twitter's redistribution and quoting authors' efforts outside of its platform. It also helps people to go onto Twitter to get a full version of a short caption, which in cases before is one of the ways to spread misinformation. And essentially, from what I understand from this is right now, so you know how usually people actually screenshots their Twitter, their tweet, and then they post it on your IG story. But that's the thing, if in order for you to find that particular tweet, you will need to go and search for the name on Twitter and then look for the whole tweet, which consumes a lot of time. This actually just makes it way much more easy and faster for you as well. Just click on it, it just directly bring you to the profile and the tweet essentially. And when they talk about misinformation, I'm guessing like, you see, people can say one thing and then when there's a trend, it goes on and on and on. And if you think this the context of the first sentence and trying to assume something, thus misinformation do happen, with that.
Yeah.
All right. So continuing, this sharing controls both ways, as both Twitter and Instagram are working on letting us share Instagram posts via tweet. After many years of social media companies locking themselves out of cross-platforming sharing, they are finally beginning to work together again. This is good. I mean, they shouldn't, if they can cross platforms, you can bring your audience from, let's just say I have groups of friends of mine that I want from Facebook to see my content on Twitter, or let's just say Twitter on Instagram. You can move around with this and it's fun, to be honest.
Yeah.
For me, that's my own personal opinion. What about you, Sean?
Yeah.
What do you think about this?
Yes, I do agree with you. The first part, which talks about this, the part where we used to always like to screenshot content and then post it elsewhere. The first problem is that you're not quoting and you're not giving credit to the proper authors of these things, because first of all, you can't find them, right? And then by having these shares, what you do is you can just tap a button, you can immediately go into Twitter and you'll be able to find the author of this. And the second one is not all tweets are complete in that 300-word section. Some are very long. And when you have one screenshot, the problem with it is you can't see the full story. So you get a little bit, and then misinformation happens because, you hear a bit, you see a bit, you don't see a bit. So what this does is it kind of lets people go into Twitter to see what's going on, hopefully get the full version of the story.
Yep.
And yes, it is true that many years ago, a lot of all these social media companies have started to lock themselves out from each other because they want to keep people within that ecosystem instead of going in and out, so they can collect as much private data as possible and sell us ads. And it's nice now that they are starting to cross-post again and collaborate with each other on this again. And hopefully this will become more of an issue, more of a trend, that we can start to cross-post more across our platforms, instead of the way Facebook wants it, where we need to stay within their platform only kind of thing.
Instead of competing with each other, I like the approach of collaborating with each other instead.
Yeah.
Which is nice to see.
All right. So social media companies, that's the onus is on you now. Hopefully you guys allow us to properly cross-post things around again, like before. Yep. All right, that's all for Social Media Weekly this week. Social Media Weekly podcast is available on Anchor FM, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and more. Our full videos are available on YouTube, and we post bits and clips on Instagram and Facebook. If you like Social Media Weekly, it would really help if you could rate and review it on the podcast feed of your choice and on YouTube, so more can discover it. Social Media Weekly is on the lookout for another regular co-host. Hopefully Jay would be a regular co-host to help us bring some depth to the show. If you're interested, simply drop us an email at Shawn, SHAWN, @virtualpeddlers.com. So that is all for Social Media Weekly this week, 30th June 2021. My name is Shawn.
My name is Jay, and it's been an honor.
And we will see you next week. Stay safe. Bye bye.
Stay safe. Bye bye.